Hello and welcome to the Halloween episode of the Midwest Spook-kast. Happy Halloween to all of ye.
Our favorite holiday.
Yes, I am so excited for this episode. I can't wait to hear about a lady in white. Is there one?
I don't have a lady in white story for you today. I'm sorry.
But there's always a lady in white.
There's always a lady in white.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I failed.
Gosh dang
I guess
it.
maybe the one might be in white. I guess the story never said if she was in white.
We'll let her have a long white flowing gown.
We can imagine her.
We'll all picture it, so
Yeah.
it'll count.
We will. Well, with me today, so this is Kayla Wellnitz, one of your co-hosts to the Spooky and Supernatural. I want to welcome my lovely friend Mariah Tejan.
Hello.
And of course, the one, the only, that almost died, Alex Stengel.
When did I almost die?
Just like 2 minutes ago, you were coughing.
It wasn't that bad.
Okay, well, we were ready to bury you.
So for
The
context.
company you keep.
So for context, right before, when Kayla was like, okay, we're going to start recording, Alex went into this coughing fit, and so we thought it was fitting that he was almost dying as we started to talk about Halloween.
Alex wanted to get into the mood.
Yep. I wanted to get in the corpsey mood.
Oh, man. Well, wherever you are, I hope you'll have a wonderful Halloween and can enjoy this episode wherever you be. But I want to first pass it on to Alex for some history over Halloween.
Our history buff over here. We're ready for Professor Stengel.
I am not a professor of history.
Oh,
You have a history degree. You are the resident professor.
No, that means expert, not professor. Expert is whoever's in the area that knows the most. Like, you are the musician expert, Mariah, because you have the most music experience of everyone in the room right now.
Fair.
Wait,
Fair.
so you're the music. Alex is the history nut. I am the lady in white nut.
Kayla knows all about the lady in white.
I will get a PhD in lady in white. So I guess no psychology anymore. It's just all lady in white. All right, Alex. I'm ready to pass it on to you. Here's my golden torch. We're going to do the Olympic ceremony to you.
Is the torch like a bone that's just on fire?
It
is. That what you're handing
It's
me?
a will-o'-the-wisp on top.
Oh,
Yes.
that's fitting.
It is very fitting.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Here, I thought it would be Halloween candy. Would be your torch. Johnny, cut that out.
Johnny, keep that in. So it is delight of... No. Cut that out, Johnny. I'm starting over.
You got like 3 words. So
This
you're like,
is just,
no.
this is just for
it was
you. This is just
very
for us,
empowering.
Johnny. This is just this is a wonderful time. So happy to be here.
As you should.
Okay. Moment of silence. Okay. We're still going. I didn't pause it.
So many bloopers.
So what is it that delights people with the notion of Halloween? Is it the glamour of fall colors, dressing as something we are not, or do we simply enjoy the thrill of a scare? Sit back and enjoy some thrills, chills, and some spooky, yet educational content regarding one of the most popular holidays, Halloween. So Halloween, otherwise known in its original name as Samhain.
Samhain!
Wine? Its original roots in many pagan and Celtic celebrations. So that's why it's hard to pronounce because, even the Celts don't know how to speak Celtic, I'm sure, because they just, I don't know.
But they need a couple laggers in them.
I don't know. I've listened to someone actually speak Celtic before, and man, I think it's easier to learn Chinese.
Possibly.
I think it would be easier to learn Chinese than it would be to learn Celtic.
Dang.
So this Celtic celebration regarded the end of the harvest season, which was also believed to aid in blending of both the physical and spiritual worlds. Oftentimes, hearths were meant to burn everlasting while harvest was being commenced. Upon the completion of the harvest, Celtic citizens would gather with Druid priests and celebrate the victorious event by praying and lighting bonfires. So, like, what is a Druid priest like? Like, what would you find in your studies there, Kayla?
A druid priest?
A druid priest. What does that entail?
So, I am not super familiar on druid priests. I actually didn't look up that much on that part. But they were more of the pagan leaders. So, they were the ones that kind of like are, I guess you could, like, are, for those that are in the Christian faith, when it comes to pastors and the father or whatnot. It was essentially that. But they were the leader when it came to the pagan faith. They were knowledgeable about the various gods and goddesses. And if you needed to know, like, if I'm struggling right now with, me and Mariah are fighting, and I need some, goddess of wisdom, inspiration, the druid priest would tell me who to pray to. And they were well-versed in the ways of practice in the pagan faith. So they always led these practices because they were the ones that were well-versed, and they were because at that time, a lot of people weren't able to read and write either, so they were able to. As you said, Celtic was not easy to read and write in. So they were well-versed in it, and they were able to, translate and pretty much do whatever was needed in order to worship. But again, instead of being the Christian pastor, they were the ones that understood the the gods and goddesses of the pagan faith, because again, they don't have one figure that they would pray to. It was multiple.
Right.
So there had to be someone that was well-versed in all of that. So, Mariah, I'm glad we're not fighting anymore because I prayed to the right goddess.
We were never fighting.
I know, but
Don't
it was
put
just
that out in the world.
I know, but it was just an example.
Don't manifest that.
I won't manifest it. I'm going to manifest good vibes only.
Only good vibes.
Okay. So with this practice came a celebration of the spiritual world that was able to unite with the physical world. Pausing for coughs.
There's that coughing fit we mentioned.
That coughing fit. I coughed one time and you said I was having a coughing fit.
He is having a coughing fit. CPR.
One time and you just acted like I'm already dead.
It's Halloween.
Many Celtic people believe their ancestors were able to travel back and forth during this time. So where did the costumes come into play? The Celtics were, of course, did not.
Try that
words
sentence again.
Were
very
okay.
English.
Delete.
Well, the Celts, of course, did not wear. That says want.
Do you want to go back a little bit?
Oh boy.
Delete again.
Yeah.
Control Alt Delete.
Where's a good spot to tell you, Johnny? Let's see. Right after where I say event by praying and lighting bonfires. That's where I'm gonna end to start the next section. With this practice came a celebration of the spiritual world that was able to unite with the physical world. Many Celtic people believed their ancestors were able to travel back and forth during this time. So where did the costumes come into play? Well, the Celts, of course, did not want to be kidnapped by their deadly departed ancestors. So they would dress as monsters, fairies, and animals so that their safety on the earth was ensured. I have never heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is... So they were scaring their their dead family members?
Yes. So the reason they did that was it was a protection for them, because oftentimes, and even to this day, we have a fear of death. And the fear was the dead would harm them or take them away. And so if they could scare the dead, they can't take them away. And this later evolved, of course, too, but more of the protection for themselves. Because, again, we talked about how in the spiritual and the physical world we're now united. We have to be able to protect ourselves and not be taken to the spiritual world permanently.
What would those costumes have looked like? Because, like, I've seen pictures of, like, Disney World when it first opened, and, like, the Mickey Mouse costumes from there are horrifying to look at.
They are.
Like, I'm picturing people dressed kind of like that, and if I was a ghost, I would be scared of that, probably.
I would be too. I'd be like, well, shit, I came back at the wrong time.
Man, I've been dead for a few years, and things have changed around here.
Man.
My cousin's got a snout. How did that happen? She's got deer antlers coming out of her head.
Did, the nuclear reaction just happen? Because one of them has wings.
And they look pretty real now.
God.
You okay, Mariah?
I'm good. I'm just imagining all of these things.
So, surprisingly, the Catholic Church began its own celebration of Halloween season in the 7th century. On November 1st, All Saints' Day, which although celebrated all of the saints of the Catholic Church, it would be broadened when later expanded into the Celtic areas of Ireland and other countries.
It is now referred to as All Souls' Day. As a Catholic, it's referred to as All Souls' Day, no longer All Saints' Day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In 1000 AD, with the takeover of the Celtic lands, All Saints' Day was translated to All Souls' Day.
Hey! Look at that. I didn't know that was coming up.
As soon as you start talking, you're like, I don't think she knows what the next line is.
I don't know
The
any of
next
what you were
sentence.
speaking.
Mariah's well educated.
My
She
parents
is.
would be so proud to know that I still remember that accurately.
They'll tune in for this
Hashtag
episode
hit.
just to see if you correct me there. Instead of honoring saints, it now honors all who passed. Oftentimes in history, we see the religious entity in charge replacing holidays with similar holidays, but more related to their religion in order to appease the people. So how did Samhain become Halloween? With All Saints' Day, many nicknames ensured, such as All Hallows' Eve, meaning All Saints' Day, which later became what is known as Halloween. Although most of these holidays merged into one, Catholics still celebrate All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. Many Wiccans and pagan Reconstructionists celebrate Samhain. Just gonna pause for a second before we move to the next part. Any statements?
I could probably add to it.
Okay.
So kind of continuing off on that, I think it's really interesting, having studied religions, how much the pagan faith and the Wiccan faith have really defined themselves recently, and how a lot of times they were associated with satanic practices, which, for anyone listening, they are completely different practices. Please educate yourselves. But the interesting part with all that is how there's more of a celebration of the ancestors, where we see, a lot of people know the holiday, the Day of the Dead. And I can't remember it in Spanish, and I don't want to butcher it, but...
La Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, something like that.
La Dia de los Muertos.
Which follows more of the celebration of your ancestors, really decorating their tombstones, putting out a lot of family pictures and putting lights around them to celebrate that the spiritual and physical realms are now more united. And in the pagan faith and the Wiccan faith, they really celebrate that too, which is really interesting. Granted, I don't celebrate any religion, but I do think that's really interesting how much celebration there is for the passing of the ancestors and how much we remember our ancestors, because that's so important for anyone, is remembering our past so that we can understand our present and future.
Yeah. So we have some interesting facts about Halloween. Interesting fact number 1. I'm not going to keep that mood up the whole time. Sorry.
Come on.
Nope, that's all you guys get.
Wow.
I love the mood though.
So a similar holiday, the Day of the Dead, which is celebrated in many Latin American countries, celebrates ancestors and their passage between the land of the living and dead between October 31st and November 2nd.
Coco, the movie.
I love that movie.
I have not seen that one. I've seen part...
Shame on you. Shame on your cow. Shame on your family.
10 out of 10. You need to watch it.
I've heard good things about it. I just have not watched it.
Watch it. It makes you cry.
It does. It is such a good movie. Is it Disney or Pixar?
Disney.
Is it? Okay.
Okay. So, fact number 2. In the 1500s, children impersonated various monsters and spirits and sang songs to earn food. In order to receive good fortune, the house owners obliged. This just kind of makes me think of we got Hobo Day coming. We got Hobo Day that just start that over. I realized I did something wrong. So the funny thing that makes me think of this is Hobo Day that was just a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to explain real fast
Yes,
what Hobo Day is?
Hobo Day. So that is homecoming for South Dakota State University. We call it Hobo Week, and everyone dresses up like hobos. And one of the things you do is called Bum-A-Meal, which is you go to various locations around Brookings that are predetermined, and the family there puts on a chili feed for anyone who, any of the students that are dressed up like hobos and act like hobos. So it just kind of makes me think of, singing hobo songs and dressing up for that. So, instead of little kids, it's, a bunch of college students going around to teachers' houses that have these giant crock pots of chili.
Oh, it's lit. I want some chili now.
Yeah.
See, where my mind went was because I'm an elementary school music teacher. I just imagine all these little kids going up to these houses and singing the songs I've been teaching them. And I would thought it was much more innocent than these college kids trying to bum a free meal.
I mean, honestly, how proud would you be if they did that?
I would be so proud. But also, I hear it all the time. So, I hear it all the time at the school right now because their favorite song is from... So, for those of you who are also music teachers, we use the Quaver curriculum in my school, which we love. And they love the song Pumpkin Bones. So I hear it every time, all in October.
Can you give us like a little bit of it?
And just look it up on YouTube.
Oh, come on.
It is an earworm. It gets stuck in your head for sure.
I'm surprised I haven't heard it yet from Dexter.
Ask him about it. He'll sing it for you.
Perfect. I'll look forward to it.
So, interesting fact number 3 is in the 1100s, parades were a huge display where people would dress in black and cry for many to remember the dead. Many baked soul cakes, which displayed a cross on the top, which were given in exchange for prayers. In The Two Gentlemen of Verona, Shakespeare mentions this tradition. That's interesting. Number 4 is, during the time of the Middle Ages, Christians would carve faces in turnips, and turn them into lanterns to aid them in their dark journey, while souling?
Yes, so that would be kind of similar to trick-or-treating, but it was, again, more going door-to-door for food.
Why turnips?
Well, that's what they had. So in Ireland, Scotland, and Britain, the pumpkin is not native to those areas. It's native to the United States. So there, it's turnips. Because you can grow a turnip fairly large and hollow it out and put faces on it. So that's what worked for them.
I mean, if they're going around looking for food, why don't they just eat the turnip?
Why would you want to eat a turnip?
Well, not just the turnip.
Don't you think you'd get tired of eting turnips?
Insane.
Eat it with something else.
But
wouldn't you still get sick and tired of putting turnips in all of your food?
Well, I mean,
exactly.
if all everyone has is turnips and you're going around asking for meals, what do you expect them to give you? They're probably gonna
maybe
give you
someone has a pumpkin.
Yeah. What if you're going door to door and you have this lit turnip? They're like, wow, this is lit. Here's some beer. And you'd be like, dang, I need to light up some more turnips.
Was this during the potato famine? Maybe like someone had they were storing potatoes, and if they had the best turnip, they would get some potatoes.
You know what? I would do that for potatoes. I love potatoes.
Disclaimer, I don't know if that's historically accurate. Don't quote us.
That's why I asked if it was during the potato famine. I don't know, but I could see maybe that happening.
Come on, Alex, you're a history buff.
Someone's hoarding all the potatoes, and so if you had the coolest face and a turnip, you could get potatoes.
Well, it was thought that the carved faces represented the dead.
Yeah, the coolest, scariest one got the potatoes.
The scariest one? I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. And so the 5th fact we have here is pumpkin carving is native to the United States. Carving turnips is native to Ireland and Scotland. So... what do we know why pumpkins were chosen? Is it just because like they're grown around this time? Or?
Right. So from what I had read a little bit, the Pilgrims really didn't get involved much with Halloween because again, there really wasn't much holiday celebrations because they were very strict in their religious ways. But the Native American people introduced pumpkins to the Pilgrim people, and the more European people came over, the more that the pumpkin was cheaper because it's native here. So a lot of from what I recall, it was more of the Italian and Irish people that got involved in those traditions. And the pumpkin being cheap, they could use it. And it was very versatile. You could take the insides and make different things with it too. So instead of using a turnip, they used pumpkin.
And now we put pumpkin in everything this time of year.
Disclaimer, if you like pumpkin spice, shame on you.
Ooh, we might not want to put that in there. That might turn a lot of our fans against us. That might make some people mad. Johnny, you might want to cut that out.
I'm not gonna lie though, I could go for some mean pumpkin pie.
Not a fan of pumpkin pie.
I'm not either.
I am insulted right now.
Apple pie? Yes.
Apple pie's
100%. I'm just not a pumpkin fan.
I like any pie but turtle pie. Like turtle pecan pie.
Pecan pie is good. I love pecan pie.
Maybe if I had like legit southern pecan pie, maybe that'd be good.
Is it pecan or pecan?
I don't know. I've heard it both ways.
We digress.
You can choose how much to keep that in, Johnny. Probably none of it.
Wow.
Good blooper reel.
So the last thing I have on here before I hand it over to Mariah is we have a short story called Stingy Jack. So in the early 1800s, Stingy Jack was a blacksmith who lived in a village in Ireland. Known as a mischievous drunkard, the devil himself heard of this mysterious man and decided it was time to collect his soul. As previously said, Jack was a mischievous man, a master manipulator. Jack, in his ways, convinced the devil to spare him one last drink, to which the devil agreed. Because Jack was, stingy, he refused to pay for the bill. The devil ended up paying for both their drinks, which was by turning himself into a silver coin. After this, Stingy Jack picked up the devil, put him in his pocket next to a crucifix, which resulted in paralyzing the devil. With the devil being paralyzed, Jack made a deal that he would release him if the devil would not pester him for 10 years. The devil agreed. Again, 10 years later, the devil visited Jack. Jack was sitting at an apple tree, and when seeing the devil, he begged the devil to climb the apple tree and get him an apple to fill his hungry belly. Yet again, the devil agreed. This time, Jack carved a cross into the tree, sealing the devil to the location. With this, Jack and the devil made a promise to never take his soul to the underworld, which the devil agreed. Of course, anyone reaches their demise just as old Jack does. Because he was safe from the devil, Jack attempted to approach the gates of heaven. Because of Jack's life of deceit and sin, St. Peter denied his entry. Jack also attempted going to the gates of hell to see if he would be allowed access to the underworld. Again, he was turned away. Although turned away, the devil provided Jack a piece of lit coal, which he placed into a carved turnip. Because Jack was unable to lay to rest anywhere, he was doomed to wander the earth with his lit turnip. Whenever the Irish people would see him, they would label him as Jack of the Lantern.
I just want to know how smart you can be to deceive the devil.
Or how stupid the devil really is.
Hearing these stories, he lost a fiddle battle, and now he lost against some stingy old man.
See, and the worst part of that one is he made the rules to that fiddle duel.
And he still lost.
Yeah, and he could have cheated. He is the devil, and he didn't, but, that's a different story. But, that's a interesting story of someone outsmarted. He was drunk, too.
Exactly.
He was drunk, and he outsmarted the devil.
He was mischievous.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Right?
I'm proud of him.
And hey, he survived another 10 years of being an alcoholic.
So, God.
That's
really,
another,
really proud of him.
Irish. And he had healthy food options. Although he was a drunk, he ate apples.
Yeah, he ate apples.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
I guess the devil away.
Yeah,
for a while. And, it doesn't say that when the devil got out of the tree. I guess eventually the tree got old and fell over, and, or someone cut it down. So eventually he got out of the tree.
Right?
But it doesn't say that.
Yeah, I was listening to a YouTube story on that the one day, and they never clarified. And then I kept looking it up, and I was like, okay, I guess the devil was just stuck there.
Well, that's all that I have for the history side of it, and that short little story about Jack the alcoholic that outsmarted the devil. So now I'm going to hand things over to Mariah, who is going to tell us some coincidences, some deaths, interesting things that have happened around Halloween that just, just kind of, I'm rambling.
Yes. Yes, you are. That's okay. It happens. So I was trying to find some, Halloween specific, hauntings, is there hunting that happens specifically on Halloween? And didn't really have any good luck with that, but I did find a lot of, interesting cases that happened on Halloween of years past that just kind of are spooky and weird, so thought I'd share those with you today. So I'm kind of going to go from probably the least spooky, and then I want to end with what I personally think is the spookiest to leave you on a nice little spooky vibe for Halloween. So the first story takes place in Halloween of 1963, so a little while ago, at the Indiana State Fairground Coliseum in Indianapolis. So I guess we could have covered this with our Indianapolis one, but it's all good. So there was apparently an ice skating rink there, and
Oh, I don't like where this is going.
I don't either.
And so all of these people were ice skating. It was about 11 p.m. on Halloween night, so that must have been the thing to do on Halloween in 1963 was to go ice skating until midnight or something.
That gives me Christmas vibes, not Halloween vibes.
Right, that's kind of what I was thinking, but it didn't say maybe this was a competition tea. I don't know. For some reason, these people were ice skating late at night on Halloween. And there actually was a gas leak over in the concession stands area. And just after 11 p.m., it caused an explosion. And so the ice skating rink actually ended up caving in. And it caused 74 deaths and 400 were injured that day.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So why that happened on Halloween, because like you said, it kind of gives Christmas vibes, ice skating.
No more Christmas vibes.
Not happy Christmas vibes.
No.
But,
wow.
yeah. So it's spooky that for some reason I couldn't find why the gas was leaking, if they ever discovered what the gas leak was from, but they said it was by the concession stand, so I assume maybe a stove or something.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's so sad.
Yeah,
It is really sad.
Jeez.
Really sad.
What else you got?
All right. These next few, there's a little bit of a trigger warning, I will say. It includes some violence and, some deaths and stuff. Some not so nice ones. So I'm deeming this story called The Wrong Address. Because it's
Oh, it sounds like a movie title.
I know, right? I should name movies. The Wrong Address. So this one took place in New Orleans, Louisiana on Halloween of 1992.
Of course, New Orleans.
What do you have against New Orleans?
How do you look into the history of New Orleans and it's all spooky?
We'll have to do an entire episode or two on New Orleans.
Oh no, we have to do one over the voodoo priestess. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this revolves around a male named, this is Japanese, so I might butcher the pronunciation, but I will try my best. Yoshihiro, oh my gosh, I had it yesterday. Johnny, cut that out. Yoshihiro Hattori. He was a Japanese exchange student, so he was about 16, 17 years old is what they thought. And he was invited to this Halloween party because, in the 90s, that's what people do. They do Halloween parties. And maybe they still do them, but where we live, I don't know that I've ever been invited to a Halloween party.
Don't worry, that'll be coming soon.
Unless it was a school event.
I'll make one.
Okay. So he was on his way to his to this party, and being an exchange student in New Orleans, was kind of getting lost around his way. And this was the 90s, so they didn't have GPS on their phones to lead them wherever they needed to go. So if you didn't have a map, you kind of were. And so I'm assuming this guy kind of thought he knew where he was going, but ended up not. Because, so Hattori knocked on a door, and he goes, "We're here for the party." And the man named Rodney Pierres, who greeted him on the opposite side of the door, pulled out a revolver and shot him dead. Shot Hattori dead. No explanation, just Hattori said, "Hey, we're here for the party," and then bam, dead by a revolver. Yes. Pierre's reasoning for shooting him dead was he was scared and that he thought the student was trespassing on his property for a criminal intent. Was the reason why he didn't even what's the word I want? He didn't even try to figure out why this kid was here. He just was like, boom, because he assumed this person was there for a criminal intent.
Someone's a little trigger happy.
He didn't even say anything to him. He just, his first reaction was pull out the gun and shoot.
Yeah, which on Halloween, I'm like, why would you do that? Wouldn't children be coming to your door?
I was going to say, I hope there wasn't a little kid maybe coming up, trick or treat.
Boom.
Yeah.
They got the trick.
Yeah.
Not so much of the treat.
Yeah. So Pierres was charged with manslaughter, but during the trial was actually found not guilty due to the Castle Doctrine. And if you're not familiar with the Castle Doctrine, it's where Americans can claim that they have the right to apply lethal means to protect their homes. So since Pierre was saying he really truly believed that Hattori was there for criminal intent, he got off from his manslaughter charges.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing with all that is, yeah, you should be able to protect your house, but it's Halloween. Again, what if it's a trick-or-treater? Like, that would not be my first go-to, is, oh shit, it's an intruder.
Right. Well, and I guess, like, how intimidating did this guy seem to be? Because, you know, if he shows up and he's this, you know, big muscly guy and he seems like he's gonna knock your door down, like, you know, you might be intimidated by this, but some college, you know, foreign exchange student, I don't see how you would think that would be someone who's gonna threaten you or your family.
Yeah, or even just simply being like, "Hey, dude, there's no party here. I think you have the wrong address." Mm-hmm. And then if for some reason Hattori didn't leave, then being a little bit more pushy and aggressive with it, maybe. Mm-hmm. But even just asking at first, because the fact that Hattori said, "We're here for the party," I mean, probably shows that he was confused as to where he was. He just was lost.
Right.
You know?
That's so depressing. That like, poor guy. He just thought he was going to have a good time.
Yeah. And no longer. Not anymore.
Oh.
I know. So, my next story is about a woman named Martha Moxley. She was 15 years old, and this takes place on Halloween Eve of 1975 in the state of Connecticut. It didn't give me a specific town, but just in the state of Connecticut. Connecticut's small enough, so
right.
You don't need the town, right? It's just
Connecticut.
It's just Connecticut. So being 15 in the 70s, Martha went out to a costume party on Hallows Eve. So, you know, like we just kind of mentioned, very popular thing to do on Halloween when you're a teenager, go out to these parties. And she was returning home, and Halloween morning, she was found dead, beaten by a golf club.
Oh.
Yeah. So, they didn't... she was found outside her home. What?
It's not even golf season anymore.
No, she was found outside her home, beaten dead by a golf club.
Oh, outside her own house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So... They originally arrested Michael Skakel for the murder. He was a friend of hers at that time. They were both 15 years old, and he was believed to have followed her home and did that. But he claimed his innocence all the way through his conviction and everything. He did spend time in jail for it, but on May 4th of 2018, the Connecticut Supreme Court vacated his conviction. And as of 2020, this is a reopened case.
Well, I'm curious what it is that made them think he was the guilty party.
Because it didn't say anything that they found as DNA evidence or any. I didn't see any of that, so I think it just was purely they were at the same party and he was supposedly responsible for walking her home.
Mm-hmm.
So then he was like the last one they saw her with,
Right.
was the idea.
I mean, did they find the golf club like next to her body? Like, how do they know she was beaten with a golf club?
It didn't say that either, how they knew it was a golf club. They just said it was a golf club. I don't know if it was there and like it was the same kind of brand that Michael owned.
Right, I was gonna say, like, if he was a golfer and it matched the set that he uses, then I can see that. But
right.
yeah, like, that's weird that they know that it was a golf club. I'm sure there's ways they could tell, but...
And this was the 70s, so, I mean, was DNA testing all that prominent in the 70s
No.
quite yet? I don't think so.
I don't think it was that much, no.
Yeah, I think it was more of, like, the circumstantial, like, he was like, the last one to see her, so he must have done it, you know, and that kind of thing. And maybe if her parents had something out for him afterwards, it was like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know that for a fact, but, yeah, I thought that was kind of creepy that... This has turned into a true crime podcast.
Oh, man.
All right. My next one did not give the person's name, but it happened in Frederica, Delaware. I apologize if you're from that town and I pronounced it wrong, but Frederica, Delaware, another small state. So apparently these small states are not the place to be on Halloween.
I guess not.
This one happened in 2005 on Halloween night. And these people were trick-or-treating and going past this house. And they were giving comments on how realistic these decorations were looking. I think Kayla knows where I'm going with this. They were like, oh, these decorations are so cool. Like, if there's a house decorating contest, this one should win. They look really realistic. Well, they realized that it looked like a decoration of a hanging body from a tree. Turned out it was a real woman who had completed suicide and was hanging in a tree looking like a decoration. So.
Well.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that because
No.
it's so morbid.
It is really
Right.
morbid.
Well, just that shock, like I can just picture the people that were saying like, oh, it looks so realistic, and then they get up right to it, and then they touch it and they're like, oh, that's not a decoration.
Traumatizing, because then you start to question the rest of the decorations.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine being the one to call that in and be like, I think this decoration is a real person.
Mm-hmm.
Will you come check it out? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure that police officer at first was like, you're not, like, it's a decoration. It's meant to be realistic.
Yeah, this person just went above and beyond to really make it look realistic and just...
Right. And then eventually when they did, I was like, wow, that's
And just think if that was like a random person that did that in your yard, how traumatizing would that be?
Yeah. They believe it was the house owner.
Oh.
So it was her house that she did it out in front of, but she also had decorated for Halloween, so she looked like a Halloween decoration. Which sounds awful to say, but...
yeah.
I mean, if she was trying to get the full effect, I mean, she did a good job, but...
Yeah.
Never go that far.
Yeah, don't. We cherish you. We love you. Don't do this.
Also, if you're contemplating completing suicide, 988 is the suicide hotline number.
There's always a counselor available.
Kayla knows. She
do
works in that realm.
I
Not
do.
for 988, but...
No, but I do refer a lot of clients to 988 because if you are feeling suicidal or you feel like you're at harm to yourself, but you don't have... like any, even if you do have plans for it, call 988 or text 988. There's always a counselor on call. If you're in the Watertown area, we have the crisis line too through the Human Service Agency. And that's, your life matters. It seems like life is tough now, but there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't have to be alone finding it.
Yeah. We love you. If no one else has told you that, we love you.
We're proud of you.
Alex, what are you adding to these people?
We need dad commentary.
I was letting the two of you do your thing there.
Don't worry, Alex will grill you a burger.
Yep. Yeah, I'll get you a burger and a beer or something.
He'll come mow your lawn. He was just talking about how he wants to mow his lawn after we're done here.
I need to mow my lawn.
Well, he will mow your lawn for you.
All right, I got one last story for us, and this is a nice reminder on why, if you have kids, you need to check their candy before they eat it.
Uh-oh.
So
I've heard
this
these
is
kind of stories before.
so this is like the original, like where this kind of started.
Oh.
This is deemed the story of the Candy Man, and it took place on Halloween of 1974 in Houston, Texas.
Of course.
Yeah. So little 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien came home from trick-or-treating, you know, how you do, and you start want to dig into your Halloween stash, you know. And his dad, Ronald O'Brien, gave him a pixie stick. You know, those simple little sugar sticks, essentially. You know, tear them open, pour the sugar.
Yep.
So moments after poor little Timothy ate this pixie stick, he started vomiting, like, awfully. And so paramedics were called, and Timothy was announced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. Turns out his dad, Ronald, had laced the pixie stick with cyanide.
His dad did
His
that?
own dad did it.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's not even beware of who gives you candy out
Like-
trick-or-treating. You gotta beware of your own parents. So.
Oh, yeah, I was expecting you to say, like, oh, like, it was found someone put that in there. How do they know he did it?
Because he had just taken out life insurance policies on his kids, and so he wanted to collect the life insurance money. So that's why he laced the candy, so that they would try to blame it on someone else.
Uh-huh.
Because you don't collect if you are the murderer.
Right,
Right.
no,
You know?
of course.
Yeah. So
Wow, that's horrible.
it is absolutely horrible.
And my thing is, too, everything's traceable at some point.
Yes.
And your own child? Like, how... as a parent myself, how?
Yeah.
And why?
I don't even know. Because no amount of money would ever replace your child.
No.
You know?
No.
Absolutely not.
Mhm.
You could offer me all the money in the world and I'd say get bent.
And he played the part of like this concerned father, you know, calling the EMTs and was like, hey, my child is like vomiting, you know, like profusely. We need to get him to the hospital, you know, playing that role so they didn't suspect him. And then, yep. So he was sentenced to the death penalty by lethal injection.
What about, did they feed him the cyanide pixie stick?
No, it was lethal injection.
Well, they should have. I mean,
Timothy had already eaten the pixie stick with cyanide.
You know, that just reminds me of every time we're on Facebook, Tom, you see these random parents sharing things about, watch your kid's candy, there might be weed edibles in there. It's like, I don't think anyone's giving your kid weed edibles. Like, that's a little expensive, my guy.
Yeah. I mean, check them for more serious things, apparently.
Yeah.
Right? Like cyanide, I guess.
Apparently
yeah,
cyanide.
Yeah, apparently, well, that's kind of the horrible thing of, you know, they say stranger danger, like that kind of stuff, and a lot of those problems that kids have, like most of the time it's family members.
Right.
It's like, because yeah, like I thought you were gonna say that they found some person was putting stuff in candy they're handing out to kids. I was not expecting you to say a parent, because yeah, like you were saying, Kayla, like how would you do that to your own kid?
Right.
It's just.
And that is the messed up thing, and you're right on that, where most kidnapping cases, when it comes to children, or murder cases, it's a family member.
Yeah, like, most of those crimes that are done towards a child, so that was very unexpected.
Yeah, and it's crazy to know that he was motivated by money, of all things. You know?
Chose money over your own kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Awful.
And
Awful.
how did he think he wouldn't get caught?
I guess he probably thought like, oh, they'd never be able to trace it because we'd give him all these houses that we went to.
Right. Well, and he's digging into all this candy. Where could he, he could have gotten it from any random house.
Exactly. So he probably thought he had the perfect idea of like, they'll never be able to trace who did it. It'll just be kind of deemed a freak accident, and they'll watch out for other kids who maybe had this experience. But then.
But I mean, you hear so many cases like that where they catch them because they had just pulled out life insurance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you just pull out life insurance and something happens to your child, you are going to be the number one suspect.
Exactly. Like, how stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not only that, it's one thing that they probably have to look for too are other kids in the area being poisoned. And if there's not, well, that's a little sus. That's
pretty suspicious, and that probably played a role in it too, because no other kids were profusely vomiting like Timothy was.
Yeah, there was no other calls to them. Yeah.
Right. And even like days passed, because it's one thing if they didn't eat it on that day.
Yeah, they're gonna be eating it throughout like the next week.
Right.
Yeah. Or the parents might be eating it, because I know Kayla here gets into her son's Halloween stash.
Okay, don't judge. My husband and my son, like, we go to parades and everything, and we have Easter with Dexter, and we do all these holidays, and you know what? He gets all excited for candy. Do you think he eats it? No. Does his dad eat it? No. So who does that leave? Kayla. And then they wonder, you know what? They don't wonder. They don't ever ask. But you know what? I wonder why I gain weight. It's a way of life at this point.
Welcome to Kayla's TED Talk.
Yeah. Shout out to Dexter and Jacob. So, to kind of end off this podcast episode, it's kind of interesting all of the different things that have happened on Halloween, or even the history of Halloween. And Mariah and I were talking, and Alex observed very intently. He's sitting here pondering like a professor. Very good, Alex, very good. But we were talking about different topics that we thought about including in the the Halloween holiday episode. And we realized they kind of need their own episodes. We're curious if you guys want to hear about maybe like the Bell Witch out of Tennessee, or I'm trying to think of some other cases, even some various haunted locations that really come up around Halloween time.
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow words is another one we kind of mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Frankenstein would be a pretty good one.
Frankenstein. Yeah. These just weren't events that happened on Halloween, so that was why I personally chose not to share them, because we were like, oh, Halloween, this is what happens.
Right. Well, and I feel like a lot of those deserve their own episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there's enough written about them, enough information that, you could cover one of them, or maybe two of them in an episode.
Right.
Kinda.
Right. Give them the credibility they deserve.
Yeah.
And that's where maybe in the future we'll do some more polls, see what people want, because we're here for you. We want to know what you want. Tell us. But otherwise, stay spooky, and of course, we'll be posting on the different socials. Mariah, do you want to tell us about the socials?
Yes. So, if you would like to tell us something that you're interested in us talking about, giving us stories, or if you just want to check into what we're up to, we started on Facebook as the Midwest Spook-kast. We got some really cool artwork on there now, so it's pretty easy to identify if you look up Midwest Spook-kast. I just realized I forgot to bring your money for that. I apologize. Johnny, cut that out. But
just start over. Just start over.
We're going to start over with that, because that just intrusive thought that popped in my mind. Shit, I forgot Alex's money.
Nice.
Okay, we're going to start over with the socials.
Okay, just breathe.
Yes, so if you would like to put your input in on different episode topics, you can find us on most social media platforms. We started out on Facebook called the Midwest Spook-kast. We are very responsive on there. If you want to shoot us a message on Messenger, comment on one of our posts. We like to give updates on when we are recording and when episodes are destined to come out. We are also on TikTok as @MidwestSpook-kast, and I, Mariah, like to put some little teasers about the episodes out, so feel free to check that out. And when we get closer to dropping different episodes, I always like to give a little teasers about what's talked about. Some reactions from Alex have been on there, or some stories have been shared, so check us out on TikTok. We are also on X, formerly known as Twitter, as just Spook-kast on there, because X thinks Midwest Spook-kast is too long of a handle, so we are just a Spook-kast there. So, and you can always email us your own stories at midwestspookcast@gmail.com, and we'll gladly share them here on the podcast on the podcast, and share your stories anonymously.
And I've been kind of curious along the way, too, if people be interested in some of our own stories, too. I do share a lot on Facebook on the group SD Ghost Hunting and Stories. But if people want to hear some more of our personal stories, let us know, because we have some really interesting things that have happened. And yeah, if you want to hear them, let us know.
Yeah, we can easily. I'm thinking of one specifically from mine that you could probably pick up on that could easily turn into an episode. So,
oh yeah,
if you're interested in our personal experiences with the paranormal and the spooky, hit us up.
I'm boring.
Alex, you need to flavor your life.
Well, remember, Alex is our resident skeptic.
I just need to walk into random shacks out in the middle of nowhere, and eventually I'll either see a ghost or a crackhead. So either way, I will be scared. But it's just a matter of which one.
We are in South Dakota. It's not crack, it's meth.
Sorry, yeah.
And I mean, granted, That can happen. My own dad at his house was leaving to go to work one day, and as he's turning on his lights in his truck, there is a meth head standing in front of his truck. And
It's Big Stone.
it is Big
You
Stone.
can expect it.
So, again, don't worry, Alex, I'll take you ghost hunting with me sometime. But yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, I will. So yeah, if you guys want to keep up on anything relating to us, make sure to follow those links Mariah gave you, or you can check out the SD Ghost Hunting and Stories page too. We're starting some ghost hunting groups on there right now in the different divisions of the state. But I hope y'all stay spooky. Look out for your local lady in white.
Sorry, no lady in white today.
Nah, you know what? Just keep an eye out for your local lady in white. Take care and stay spooky, y'all.
Happy Halloween!